Make it?
Am I gonna make what?
Over there coughing like that.
I'm gonna die. This is
Oh.
a toe that you keep seeing. It's like a toe.
Oh no, there's
Fiverr
audio.
Energy came to me and
Oh,
upgraded
more
my
audio.
setup. It
Some
was
good
absolutely
audio.
All
amazing. They
the
got me
audio.
two brand new
still don't
14
know when we're
monitors,
on.
and it is
We're on
definitely
now.
Oh, hi everybody.
Hello.
How everybody? How you doing? It's me, Reset Patrick.
Yeah, it's both of us for once. Plus another one
There's
because
a toe of a cat, and I keep wanting to bite it because it's a toe. Show them the toe. This toe. I keep I want to chew it off.
yeah, for whatever reason, he really wants us to hold him. So
I haven't been on camera in a long time, but I guess with glasses is a way to do it. How's everyone doing?
how's my hair doing?
I'm Reset Patrick. I don't know. My hair's probably a mess.
Mine kind of is too.
Still got a little bit of cough from diseases. I caught all the diseases at once. I'm cured, but you know, I still got a bit.
Until you're not. Oh my God, Kitty Cat,
This
you were
cat's a prick today. This
just
cat-
ruining everything, Kitty.
Is it really ruining when a cat's involved, or is it improvement?
Well, I can't give him too much
He's a
too
cat.
much
The
hassle.
cat's-
I mean, one, he's a cat. Two, for anybody following my Twitter, they know I lost 1-3,
Yeah.
so he's not taking it too well.
he's gonna get the love that the cats deserve.
He misses his little
Which is
brother.
all the love.
So this is what he's gonna do. Can we do a show?
I wish
Is that
cats would talk, like more than the meows occasionally. You know,
Yeah.
like if the cat would just be in a conversation with a dog, I feel like you have conversation. They go, "Arr," you know, and they sound like they're like talking in a language I don't understand. Cats just don't bother. They just want it. They want the love. They want the attention.
So how's the dog go again?
All right. That's my impression
That's
of
perfect.
dog friends.
Let me
Yeah.
silence my phone.
My phone's been off for a while. I beat you to the punch. So I imagine we're going to talk about how Microsoft sucks, how we love Nintendo. What else do
And
we always talk about?
Cats are great.
Final Fantasy 14. I actually don't have much to talk about with 14, so
How great cats are.
I can't afford the subscription at the moment, so I'm not playing 14.
Oh, no.
How bad is that? Granted, there's nothing for me to do unless I
No.
wanted to do the end game raid, which I've done the easy version, so I'm not gonna. I don't need to do both.
So I guess I'll go ahead and do the official intro.
Eh.
This is the reset button for September 19th, 2017. This is the episode of the cat.
Now the audio people don't know what you're talking about, so
Yeah.
I feel like you made a mistake in assuming that everyone has video
Of the cat.
of the cat when the majority of our audience listens after. So I feel like you're making a terrible mistake.
Well, they should know that I'm holding a cat, and he's wonderful.
Yeah. I'm the cat. Hi, everybody. Monkey here.
He's not even sure what he is anymore.
So many people have called me a pussy that I've just, like, learned to accept what my role in life is.
Wow.
So, you know.
Yeah, so the cat just decided, hey, look, you're holding me, and that's the end of it.
This has
so,
been him today. And that's
Yeah.
fine. It's good. Cat loving loves. But it's going to make podcasting a lot harder. The show is going to be a lot harder.
It's going to
Because
be...
I'm going to keep wanting to go kitty and then, like, make out with him.
And like I was telling you earlier, he likes video games, so he's the perfect cat.
Now what genre does the cat play?
Cute is
That's-
his genre.
Such as
Yoshi's Woolly World.
oh, you know what? That game's so pleasingly aesthetic wise. Maybe an animal would like it. You think a cat would like Doom?
No, I don't think he would care for Doom at all.
Why? How's that not cute?
Too much loud noises that would just make him very unhappy.
Play it on mute.
Okay, you've got me there. He probably
It would
be.
solve all the problems.
He probably would be like, "What is happening?" It doesn't matter. You're killing demons and like things are shrieking.
It's colorful though. I mean, it's got very sharp red imagery. You know, like it's a visually pleasing experience.
Even for a cat.
Even for I don't know that, but I'm assuming. I'm putting my prejudice on the cat and assuming that he likes to. And you never gave him a fair shake.
Maybe I should.
Yeah. So on this episode, we had a topic last week. We never touched it.
Nope.
I think it would be good to talk about video game adaptations in both directions. So that is film to game and game to film. And obviously that includes TV shows and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it turned out to be a really good topic when we were talking about it, simply because we both went in completely different directions when we talked about it. Because I mentioned a movie to a game and called it a dumpster fire, and you did the exact opposite.
yeah, I think sometimes you get your golden eye. Okay, well, first of all, we'll get the elephant out of the room. So adaptations from film to games, they're almost always horrendous. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they have a far shorter time limit to make your game. I cannot imagine what it's like to be a developer while a movie is being shot that you are supposed to make a game based off that movie. Because they come out the same day. How would that work? Like the speed of making the level so that it comes out the same day when the movie is not done.
Right. It could honestly be like, have you seen the latest episode of, well, it's not the latest anymore, but the next to latest episode of Angry Video Game Nerd?
Which was it?
Planet of the Apes.
Okay, I have.
Yeah, where he was talking about the timeline of that game and how it was made. The timeline that they gave them for that game was a jumbled mess.
So they based it off the older source. That was how they did it.
What they were supposed to do was supposed to be a tie-in with the movie that was coming out.
Yeah. And it was impossible to do.
Yeah.
But the game's still a dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, even not even going near just because of the time. So I'm thinking, like, oh my god, cats everywhere.
Second cat.
Second cat just jumped. I think there couldn't be something more stressful. I'm always shocked how GoldenEye turned out. Although GoldenEye didn't come out the same time as the movie, did it?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
My understanding is that it started off as a Super Nintendo game. and then it was going to be a rail shooter. And then they poured it upward, and then it became the masterpiece that it is. And that's the real story of GoldenEye.
And it's really impressive with that specific one because Rare had never done a shooter before.
That's right.
That was the first time that they jumped into something like that.
All console shooters were pretty terrible at that point, too. I mean, you have to remember, this is like N64. This was early 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe that GoldenEye is a terrible game. But all due, before anyone yells at me, all due to the fact that the FPS, frames per second. Like, that's something that we didn't care about back then. And you play that game now, it's like 10. You can't go to it now.
It's pretty horrible, especially when things start exploding. Like, when you get your explosions on, say you plant, like, a bunch of proximity mines and then let them go off.
Yeah.
That's bad.
I think it was either with you or it was a separate friend, but we had played a GoldenEye multiplayer match, and it might have been the worst thing I've ever done. Like, and I love that game when it came out, for the record. There are things about GoldenEye I stand by are innovative. I love the mission structure of that game. There's something only Rare did, which was difficulty settings, add more objectives. And that was how it did it. So if you play on harder difficulties, you had more shit you had to do. I thought that was way cooler because it made replays way different.
Yeah.
But man, that frame per second.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it had that problem, but for the time, for the hardware that it was using, it was a hit.
Yeah.
It did well.
Yeah. Oh, it's a masterpiece.
It is not aged well at all. Like, if you want to talk about a version that has aged well, Perfect Dark is what you would talk about.
I disagree. I think it has aged perfectly well on the Xbox when they poured it later on the 360, because then they completely eliminated the problem. Although, playing that version, you really realize that Peter Molyneux is one of the characters in that game. One of the enemies you fight has Peter Molyneux's face.
Oh my.
And it is exact. And it is like, I don't know if it was something they changed in the new version or what? But it is Peter Molyneux. There is no question who that man is.
Well, that means that that's my favorite version now.
Well, you're gonna have to play it.
That's my favorite version for
It's a
literally
little,
ever.
It's a little better than Zero.
Just a little?
Just a now I only played what we played multiplayer wise. I don't know if one day we'll stream it. I'd like to get streaming going, but that's a separate conversation for another time.
Yep.
What is your when it comes to those adaptations? What would you say your favorite, least favorite? What's the best and worst you've played, and then like one you find interesting? Because there's so many. I feel like you might have your own take on it.
Okay, from movie to game?
It can be movie as long as it's adaptation.
Okay.
I'll tell you the
movie to game adaptation. I'll go ahead and start with that.
okay.
So, best I've played, in my opinion, and this is a movie to game adaptation, is Batman 1989 on NES.
Really? I feel like you're cheating. I know the game you're talking about, but it was Sunsoft that made it.
It was.
And I feel like when I see that game, they made a game ahead of time, and then they threw Batman... Ooh, I almost knocked my glasses over. They threw Batman imagery at it to make it just... Now it's Batman.
Yeah, they even used assets from the movie, so it counts.
I don't know. I feel like that's cheating, because it wasn't made from the ground up to be Batman. It's not like... It's the exact opposite of what happened to Journey to Silius. You know, which they also made, which was supposed to be Terminator, and then they lost it, and went, oops!
And by
Now
the way,
it's
hi Poe, you are a
Hey!
little late.
What's up, Poe?
You are a little late.
You are, but it's okay, because we got cats next to us.
We do have a cat.
We have the cats. Cat box.
He probably remembers this cat from the other night. He wouldn't stop jumping on me.
He's an asshole.
But I'm still gonna say that because that was good. I liked it.
I got a cat on the left
So-
of me. We got multiple.
You can just deal with it.
What were we saying?
The worst movie to game adaptation I've played. I'm gonna still go with NES. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Okay.
Because
That's your pick?
I don't know what the hell's going on in
highly
that.
disagree with that, but that's interesting. I feel like there was so much ambition in that game. Like, whether it turned out to be good or not. Poe, you're stealing my answer before I get to it. Anyway, any one that you found super interesting?
I'm gonna have to think about that one for a bit. Go ahead and
Okay.
go with yours. I'm gonna keep thinking.
The best one, Poe is right, is Chronicles of Riddick.
So you haven't tried that.
That is easily the greatest adaptation of all time.
I haven't tried
And
that.
the reason it's so good is, first of all, the developers have went on to make other wonderful things. They did The Darkness, which was a very story-driven shooter. And then the people who worked on that ended up forming a brand new company called Machine Games and went on to make Wolfenstein. So that's those people. Chronicles of Riddick was a prequel to the movie. So they could just go out and go crazy. It's kind of a prison break story that was going on. It was in 3 separate parts, but it was kind of part RPG, part first-person shooter, part brawler. And it was damn good. Way better than it has any right to be. There's a version of it on the PS3. They remade it because it was just so good with an expansion added on. Probably found it for like $2.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely play. It holds up. That game, and at the time, that game was ridiculously good because it was Unreal, the Unreal Engine before people really took advantage of it and used it. It looked like it was a generation ahead of its time, and in some ways, it was. It was just all. If you put anti-aliasing on it, that game still looks fucking gorgeous.
I just thought of my answer to the one that's interesting.
Okay.
And I remember this because it was the first Super Nintendo game I got when I got a used Super Nintendo back in like 93.
Yeah.
So I got Home Alone for SNES. Which
that's
is
a bad game.
It is bad, but the interesting part about it is, yes, it's based on the movie, but they decided to just go nuts with this game and just build whatever the hell they wanted to build with it. It really didn't follow the movie. It didn't make any sense as to what's going on. They just said, here's the assets for the movie, let's go nuts. And that's what they did.
Sometimes that's how you got to make a game. Shame it was still bad.
Oh, it was very bad.
Before I continue, I'm just going to say this. Star Wars doesn't count. I'm not going to call Star Wars games movie games, although I think there is an interesting point to make. Because if Knights of the Old Republic counts, then we have a movie-based game that was Game of the Year and is held up
Right.
as one of the most important. But that franchise is so big, I don't think I view it as movie-based anymore.
So even like Super Star Wars?
I
Super Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, kinda. I feel like that's your gray area. Like, it's still based off it, but they threw other things there. But most of them are pretty expanded universe. Like, the Jedi Knight series is amazing with, and you know, they don't exactly.
Right. Like you can't say KOTOR. You can't say that's a movie adaptation because that's an adaptation of which movie?
If you want to laugh, there is an MMO adaptation of a movie.
My God.
Which is insane. The worst I ever played, and this you'll find this in the record books. It was based off the movie Return of the Joker, Batman. What was it? The cartoon, not the first one. It was like the later in the future, Beyond. Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker on the PS1. I own that.
Oh my God.
Holy shit, that was bad. That was a game that was just made with incompetence and what the opposite of love, probably hate. And it was kind of a fascinating mess. It was so glitchy and looked so bad and got the core fundamentals so wrong. I do not know how they released it. Now, I imagine the difficulty they had is not only was it based off of a movie, it was based off of an animated movie.
Yeah.
So how hard must that be to be a dev and be like, we need images of the movie and we literally don't have them until it's out. I don't know how that works.
That would have to be difficult. I would want to be anywhere near that issue. However, I do want to change my worst because I just looked up and I saw something that reminded me.
I get a couple more things then.
Oh
because
my!
You're being a...
Because this, no, you'll understand how bad this is when I say it.
Uh-huh.
I forgot. So, Ghostbusters for NES.
I swear, I really think you're being dramatic. I think that is a decent game.
I don't like you anymore.
It's a decent game.
No, it's not.
You know why it's a decent game? And I'm not talking about execution. It was the NES era. We didn't have good executions. It's a decent game because it could have been another platformer. It could have been something that the NES did, but what it instead did was capitalize what the point of Ghostbusters is. Ghostbusters is about a group of friends
driving around, hitting barrels.
Ghostbusters is about a group of friends starting a business. And everything about that game is built around the financial benefit that you need to buy new items. There is some interesting design philosophies in that game that is way more interesting than Go Right.
Oh my God.
I didn't say it was successful. I'm just saying there's more going on than the typical NES game. And I give it credit for that.
Oh my God.
For its era, it deserves some credit.
No, it was horrible.
I think that's just such an AVGN reaction.
No. And I'll tell you exactly why. All he did was tap into my past with that, which is kind of the point. So, I was a huge Ghostbusters fan as a kid, especially when 2 came out. So,
who wasn't?
Mom rented that game, and I popped into the NES and had no fucking clue what was happening.
If it makes you feel better,
it's horrible.
We've gotten an even worse Ghostbusters video game that came out very recently, and it's sunk an entire company.
I haven't touched it. I'm not going to.
I could Redbox it.
Oh.
Would that be a fun streaming event for everyone?
I think you're threatening me.
I think we should do it. Oh, Poe, that is cruel.
See, that's true. See? Even he knows what's up.
You have to read it.
Ghostbusters NES is used by North Korean officers to torture dissenters, says Poe. And that's true.
I think there are worse games that you could torture with.
Okay, say one.
Dementia. No, that's a European title. What is it? It's not Dazed and Confused. There is a point-and-click game I saw a video on that is one of the most confusing messes I've ever seen in all video games. I'm going to force you to watch it. But I don't know if there's time to now. But it is one of the most interesting... Anyway, point is, that's what you torture people with. Ghostbusters, you can beat that. Now, the only thing I'm going to grant you is I think the terrible design is the walking up the staircase. That is terrible. And you will hear no defense from me. Otherwise, everything else, fine. For its era.
The driving is god-awful.
Yeah, but it's an NES game.
Oh my God.
It's an NES
Are you
game.
certain you played this, or have you just watched
Positive.
it?
Positive I played it.
Okay.
And beat it. I've finished that game.
What?
Yeah. That's who you're talking to. Since you got 2 bads, I'm going to have multiple goods.
Now
'cause
I'm
I wanna-
terrified.
I want to keep things positive, for a change. Here's remember, I don't think it deserved the love that it got, but I think it was, at the time, remember when Lord of the Rings came out and we got the Two Towers game?
Yeah.
Everyone loved that game. That game felt like a masterpiece at the time, even though in hindsight it was just a shitty hack and slash. I think that's not even on my good. That's more of my really interesting, because I think it was interesting all the reactions that it got. People were in love with it.
Oh, I remember.
Why? What made it so special to people? Because it really did just seem like a normal hack and slash.
It was, to be honest. Basically, it was like Gauntlet in 3D, because they had Aragorn, which is going to be, your dude that just does most of the hacking slashing. They had, I cannot remember the name of all the characters. You had your elf dude. He was the archer.
You got your
You had
Orlando
Gandalf.
Bloom. You got your Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah, you've got Gandalf. He's your wizard. And what do you have? You have Gauntlet, but it's in 3D. Now, of course, it didn't have all of the aspects of Gauntlet. It didn't play exactly like that, but more or less that's what you had. Just hack and slash through a bunch of bad guys. Now, the reason why people loved it so much is because of how smooth the controls were and how satisfying it was to just tear through enemies. I would say almost it's the same reason why people like Dynasty Warriors. Because it's
No, Dynasty
satisfying
Warriors.
to tear through bad guys.
There's more layers to Dynasty Warriors. There's some actual tactics in terms of
well,
placement.
no. I'm aware of that. What I'm saying is down to the core.
Okay.
The taste of it that
Okay.
draws people in. That's what's going on there.
Okay.
Now, Dynasty Warriors, we both know, is like way beyond that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that core taste that draws
Okay.
people in. That's
Well-
what's going on.
Good for you, Lord of the Rings. I never really cared as much for it, although, and this is a very this is a statement that's going to get me crucified. Haven't seen the movies, so yeah, I missed it. I will someday, but if I'm going to, I'm going to see the director's like super long versions, and I'm not seeing it until.
Well, I do have my my Blu-ray set of all of them up there.
But are they the super long ones? Are they the director's supercut?
I'd have to check.
Because I refuse to watch any theatrical lies.
Theatrical
If I'm
lies.
gonna do it, I'm gonna see the long ass version, and I'm gonna nerd out. I know I'd like them. I love the books. The book. I say books. I've read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and what is it? There's one other. The one with the funny name.
The Silmarillion?
Yeah, I didn't like finish it, but I read some of it.
That's a heavy read.
That was an interesting. I couldn't. It ain't no Witcher. Ooh. Oh, does that count? That's from a book series.
Is it?
The Witcher is a famous book series.
Well, there you go.
And it is one of my favorite book series there is. So if that, it's not an adaptation, it's a sequel. But I think that's the general thing we're finding out with this conversation. So Riddick was a prequel to the movie, and therefore it is the best one. And Witcher is a sequel to the books. Fun fact, they're going to have a Netflix show, and it's going to do the book series. And it'll be live action. It's Netflix's answer to Game of Thrones. And if it's half as good as the books, I cannot fucking wait. Have you played Witcher? Have you read Witcher? Have you done
I have played some Witcher, yeah.
Okay, so it's going to star Geralt like the books do, and it has a tone that I've always loved, which is like it's not super dark, like it lays on its sleeve. It's more sarcastic dark. It's kind of the feeling of Witcher, and it's like dark things happen, but you have a character that's just seen this shit before, and it's like okay. It's like one of the examples in Witcher 3 I think works really well is there's a giant frog, and you're hunted to kill you're told to kill the frog as a contract, and then it turns out that frog was like the Toad Prince, and then so you kill him and he's like shit, I've killed royalty, they're gonna come for me now.
The Toads.
That's the kind of dark humor that Witcher is. That's like the hilarious. But anyway. So obviously, I don't have to talk too much about those games because, like, they're brilliant. The first one is hard to play, but this 2 and 3 are masterpieces. You want to
3 is basically where I really jumped in.
2 is just as good as 3. 1 has not aged well, but I still recommend it. It just has the weirdest fucking combat in gaming. God, the cats everywhere. This is a cat episode. What else? One adaptation I think is interesting. It's not good, but I think it is a fascinating one. You ever played Batman Begins?
I have not.
It was on the GameCube, it was on PS2. And what I thought was it had like QuickTime event fear situations where like
God.
you hold on, it was actually neat.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said QuickTime, but it's like triggers
Okay.
that you're supposed to hit.
Okay, that's
So the
different.
idea is like you're in the shadows, and and they'll just kill you instantly if you just jump out because they got guns, and they'll just be like, "You dead, cat," you know. So you gotta spook them. So they'll be like an air conditioner, and you'll be like, "I'll hit it with my batarang," and then they'll be like, "Ah, ah," you know, and you scare the shit out of them. And it was kind of like it wasn't as good as Arkham, but it was a really good half step there. And I think it's like a fascinating little game. I was disappointed when they canceled the Dark Knight game, but then we had, you know, the Arkham series, which I think is probably all right.
It started off well.
Gamecom is terrible, Poe. Why did you own one?
Oh no.
You poor bastard.
No one should own a Gamecom for like any reason.
I don't now. I used to be able to say I don't know anyone who ever owned one. Now I
you
do.
Now you do. How do you feel?
Kind of gross. Kind of gross. You should be ashamed.
I doubt he is.
I know. He said it there. Proud enough to. You won it from a cereal. How?
How do you win a game console from a cereal
Now
box?
I understand winning a game because I've won like Clue from a cereal box. Like the Clue video.
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
But not like a console.
Yeah, I actually got Spider-Man and Venom's separation anxiety from Kool-Aid.
What, dude? I just had a thought. What if we could get a Switch through a cereal box?
That would be amazing.
We bought like Lucky Charms and it was just heavier than usual, and then we open it up and it's a Switch stand. And we're like, ah!
Just pick up that one and be like, yeah, this box is kind of heavy.
I wonder which one has the prize. You know, that'd be cool.
That would be amazing. Let's see. He says, I think it was from Cheerios. Well, healthy for the heart, but not for the entertainment. Jesus.
I don't want to lose track of the conversation too much, but like I'm fascinated. But
I am too. But hold on, I have an idea of a game that was actually really good. And we're gonna go back to Lord of the Rings really quick here.
Oh no!
But this is not based off the movie.
Oh no!
It's based off the book.
Oh no!
There was an Xbox game that came out.
If you're gonna say The Hobbit, I'm gonna walk out of here.
No, it wasn't a Hobbit.
Okay, thank God.
It was Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Original Xbox. Except, like I said, it's based off the book.
You have to give me
not
a
the
name
movie.
because I'm about to smack you full of truth.
I've got to look it up. It's been that long.
Is it a
But
turn-based RPG?
No.
Okay, I don't know what this is.
No, it actually followed the book. Like, one character that was completely absent in the movies was Tom Bombadil.
That's
And
The Hobbit.
No.
I guarantee you that's the game you're thinking of. But go on.
Couldn't have been The Hobbit.
I was going to say Third Age is right there.
No, this one is totally different. I'll have to look it up, but you actually start in the Shire, and then the ring wraiths are coming after you.
Mm-hmm.
As they did in the book. They didn't show up later. They actually showed up at the Shire, just like in the book. So it was interesting, but that was the one where
I think I
they got it
vaguely
right.
remember this, and I hated it.
The art style was ugly.
I remember hating this game. I don't know the name, but I remember I got it from like a it was like in a budget store, and they had it, and I remember buying it and just thinking it was an absolutely dreadful game, and you were wrong, and I was thinking at the time that you were wrong and that Ghostbusters was the better game, and that's how wrong you were.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that.
I think when it comes to video game adaptations to movies, the bad ones can be sometimes really fascinating. Sometimes equally bad, like the Catwoman game. Like, the movie was horrifically bad, but so was the game. So I felt like it was a perfect adaptation. You know? It understood its source material and really, really drove it home.
You have to be complete shit, not just partial.
I'm looking at your collection while we're having this conversation because it's giving me ideas
Probably bad ones.
of like, well, of what we're talking about. But yeah, I feel like that's enough on that side of the conversation. I do remember the PS1 era being particularly bad for adaptations. You know what? I do remember a very weird one. Remember the movie Small Soldiers?
Yes.
There was a game. I rented
Yes,
it.
there
And it
was.
was within the universe of the toy line within the show. But they fucked it up because you're playing as the monster. And at the time, it bothered me because I'm like, if you fuckers knew your Small Soldiers lore, you would know that the monster in the TV toy line was actually the bad guy. It was originally written by the guy David Cross played, and he was like, well, this is the good guy. But then they had to change it because monsters are scary looking, you know. So I was fucking mad that if you had such an interesting premise that you're going to base it off the toy line, you couldn't even get that right.
Not to mention, it was just a really awful game.
Well, it was a really awful movie, too, so that's
Yeah.
not hard to do.
That was just...
And also,
Ugh.
it was a weird fucking movie. I remember, like, a child being tied up and threatened by a toy. And there was,
Yes.
like, some weird sexual fetish shit that was going on with one of the toys, like the Barbies. And I just was, like, too young to know what was going on. It didn't compute. It
Yeah.
didn't compute.
Not to mention, they also used that movie to sell fast food to people, too.
Oh.
The
What?
Rodeo Burger.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry if I'm talking away from the mic constantly. I'm just bad at being a communications major.
Yeah. Never seen one of these before.
Oh.
How do they work?
They live on the street for a reason. So I feel like we've talked a lot about Adaptation 2 games. And we know why they don't work. But I feel like the harder answer is why doesn't it work in the other direction? I'm going to make this bold statement. All video game movies, for one reason and another, are shit. All of them. Even the ones that I like
That's fair to say.
are shit.
That's pretty fair.
Best case scenario, you have Warcraft. It's shit. It's the critics thought it was shit, the fans thought it was shit, and it was not because it was a terrible adaptation. It was the opposite. It was so faithful that there wasn't a good movie in there.
Right.
Like, if I didn't care about Warcraft, what'd I get from that movie? And if I do care about Warcraft, man, it didn't have any of the heart or soul of Warcraft. Like, Warcraft's funny.
Yeah.
Why wasn't there anything funny in that movie?
Oh, you didn't hear the Murloc?
That wasn't funny. That was just a direct creature showing up.
That was just random. Yeah, that is a problem. Like, there wasn't enough of the Blizzard flavor to it. Instead, it seems like, and I know Duncan Jones probably did the best he could, but it's really seemed like with that movie they just said, well, here's a checklist of everything we need in this movie for it to be Warcraft. And they just start checking boxes.
They had so many years, development hell, and Duncan Jones is an amazing... He did Moon. This guy knows his shit. So why? And I've come to think about it, and I've realized why adaptations are always bad. Which is, unfortunately, video games are art, and I'm not going to dispute that, but it's such a different form of
Right.
storytelling. And movies, unfortunately, have these rules. And I'm not saying you can't break the rules. The best movies break the rules of movies. But most Hollywood movies, especially ones that want to make money, have a very deliberate 3-act structure. Games do not do that.
No.
There's no need for it. Yakuza, we're playing it, and I love that game. It does not have a 3-act structure.
No.
Now, I could make that work, but I have to change things to do that. And even then, there's this... I feel like we have a really hard problem with a second act in a video game movie. I don't think we know how to do that. Because how a story works in film is you have your plot, and then almost resolution, and you have to cut them when they expect something. So the build-up, crash, back to the past, and then you got to rebuild back up, and then Act 3 is your climax. Super quick resolution. That should work. But the problem is, take a story like, I don't know, I'm gonna make it easier. StarCraft. That's very movie-like in a lot of ways, but
Absolutely.
you have three perspectives that you have to look at.
Yes.
And not only that, but all their stories are not 3 acts. If you look at the Terran campaign, it's just, man, shit sucks at the end. That's it. I'm not saying there aren't events that aren't interesting, but it is written as we're doing something, and oh no, and that's the end. There isn't like a wave of storytelling.
So I just thought of something interesting while you were saying that.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, games can usually be broken up into chapters.
Yep.
That's the way this works too. Yakuza.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, chapters, different things like that. So why can't a director like Quentin Tarantino tackle something like that?
Well, Tarantino doesn't do adaptations.
Well, right, I understand, but he is the master of breaking a film into chapters and really looking at different things from different perspectives and then tying it together at the end.
Yeah, but how many directors would you say do that?
Not many.
Yeah.
So I think that's the
ironically
issue.
enough, there is
His format would work, but no one uses it.
Ironically enough, there is a movie based off of Yakuza 1.
Really?
And it's not good. It's got some things that are great, but it kind of does what you're saying. It just doesn't work. It follows 4 characters, 2 of which were not in the game, one of which the plot wasn't in the game, and then the one story that does follow from the game is just sped up so fast that you don't get to understand or appreciate it.
Huh.
But it makes up for it because the guy that got to play Majima, which, as you know, is the best character, they got a damn good guy who played him, and that honestly made the adaptation worth watching just to see Majima be Majima, in live action.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
It's pretty good. What about a TV show? I don't. As a chapter system, you could do that, but even as a TV show, you still have to end. If HBO has taught me anything, and I'm catching on to it, and I don't like it, is that you need like a little climax at the end of every single episode.
Yes.
You gotta keep them hungry, and I just don't think game stories are meant to do that.
Yeah, you can't really do a cliffhanger each episode, especially depending on like the game.
I don't know. Every show seems to do that.
But I don't think it would work with a game.
Remember Alone in the Dark? That's the only. It wasn't a good game, but that literally was that structure.
Well, you know what? I take that back. because I just thought of it.
Yeah.
Alan Wake did that very thing.
Alan Wake is probably the only one that would work as a miniseries, but it was also written in that style.
Exactly.
I would love a Deadly Premonition show. I got a good name for it. It'd be called Twin Peaks. I think it'd be really neat. No one's come up with it yet. I'm the first.
And then there's been like cartoons and such in the past of video games to TV. I think it's fared a lot better than video games to movies. Like Super Mario Brothers cartoon, Sonic the Hedgehog.
You know what I think another
Mega Man. That's what I was trying to think.
You know what another major problem is?
What's that?
And this is going to sound bad, but I've heard this term a lot, and I feel like it's also a term that explains the problem with this. Ludonarrative dissonance. Are you familiar with that term?
I'm not, but you've said it before.
Okay, ludonarrative dissonance means what I'm doing in the game doesn't fucking make sense in the story of the game. So, like, I feel a disconnect between the plot and the game that I'm playing. So the most famous example, what coined the term, was BioShock Infinite, where you are playing a game where you're trying to rescue a girl and you're killing guys, but I'm eating food out of the garbage. Yeah. Like, in the plot, I'm not eating food out of the garbage. In the game, I'm eating food out of the garbage and just eating whatever is in front of me. I have to grab. Is there food in your pocket? I'm going to eat it. But you don't think of it because it's a gameplay mechanic and it doesn't.
Right.
But here's the problem with that. I think games are too violent. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean that as an adaptation. Because a game has to be constantly full of action the whole way through. And usually in games, you don't have to justify it that hard to do. Mm-hmm. Just violence just happens. You know, if I play Final Fantasy VII, I'm gonna walk around and then all of a sudden violence happens. There'll just be someone there to attack me. Can't do that in a movie. Wouldn't it be weird if in a movie every couple of steps are like, gotta fight again?
Yeah.
You know, there's no drama in it. There's nothing you can do. But unfortunately, that is just how the story is bound to work.
And
you
can tell when there's like a TV show you're watching where they kind of make sure there's a fight scene in every episode, because it seems like it's thrown in so unnaturally. Like, have you seen From Dusk Till Dawn, the series?
I'm not going to.
Okay. Well, with that, you can tell that Rodriguez, for whatever reason, wants a fight scene in every single episode.
Hotline Miami would be a badass. I'm just responding to Poe. Hotline Miami would be a badass short film that's like 20 minutes of just violent bullshit.
That would be pretty nuts. But yeah, you could tell in every episode, like, they fight each other for just the silliest of reasons. And it gets old, because the moment there's like any type of tension between characters, you're like, oh, here's the fight scene for the episode.
Here's my biggest factor. It's called there's going to be 2 violent scenes and maybe one at the opening. Because Act 2 has to end with violence and Act 3 has to be a climax. So we know how many battles are going to show up. I knew before we saw Warcraft how many battles it would be. 2 and maybe an opening. I say
we
maybe,
got 3.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. That's how the story structure has to work. You're going to end with a battle, so there's no question there. But it can't be the only battle in the movie. Otherwise, the audience is not getting what they paid for battles. So you get 2. And then it's just... That's not how stories function in video games. They're constant. You know? I just don't think... Now, and for the record, this isn't even a knock against gaming. In fact, if anything, I think games are more capable of telling stories than films or books even. The interactivity adds so much that you can't do in any other genre.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, listen to people talk about, like, what's that game, Battlegrounds, right? I've heard so many stories from Battlegrounds.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, it's not the story the developer intended, but I've heard a million stories from that game of people playing it and saying, this is what happened to me. Oh, you gotta hear this shit. In a movie, it's like, I can only tell you the one function. I can only tell you the one way it works. There is nothing else there. You know? And then, like... I'm just saying, it seems like games have the most potential.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff that Nier did that really proves that point, but that'd be spoilers. But it took advantage of being a video game and had... So, can I spoil the original? I don't know if you're going to play.
I don't care.
Well, I'm going to make you play.
They might
anyway,
care.
At the original ending of Nier, one of the major endings was self-sacrifice, and if you did that, it would delete your save. So you really had to feel that sacrifice. And the game would show you slowly losing your progress of everything you've done. And it was one of those moments that was emotional in the way it was handled, but could only be done in a game. It's like, see these percentages that you earned of all these, like, collectible shit? Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Right.
It was fascinating. Intense. Oh, man, it's nothing compared to what the recent Nier did, which just really one-upped it. Roblox does have the best story in gaming.
So I've got a topic for you to wrap up this episode. I think it's going to be a good one, too.
Yeah.
So, games that you want to see turn into a movie.
None.
Or a miniseries.
None. Witcher. That doesn't count,
Witcher.
Because it's based off the books. It's
already happening.
No, it's based off the books. So I don't have to worry about it. It's just a straight adaptation of something that actually would function.
Well, I actually do want one that's turned into a miniseries.
Oh, no.
Miniseries at best. Because I really love the grittiness that the Transformers Cybertron series brought.
Oh, I'm out. I'm out.
I loved it.
I'm sure
I thought it would be great.
That's not why I'm out. I've given up on all things Transformers. I have... Any fandom that I had in my heart for that series has been completely tarnished to the point where I now look at Transformers negatively. I do not like Transformers.
Oh, I can't do that.
It is the green eggs and ham of media for me. It's like, I do not want your green eggs and ham. I used to like it, But you've fed me that shit in such a bad package, so many ways, that I now, like, vomit in my own mouth. And it's not good. I know. I saw it when I walked in the room. Don't you pretend. I know you're a Transformers fan. It's just wrong.
It's wrong to be a Transformers fan.
Yeah, you should be a fan of better things. Like, I don't know. Who's totally outrageous? What's... You know. I'm
You're
thinking
gonna
of
have
other
to define
Hasbro.
outrageous.
No, that's like her catchphrase. Gem and the Holograms.
Who?
Man. It was also owned by Hasbro. Gem and the Holograms.
Who the hell are you
It was
talking
a cartoon that was
Oh
on
my
the same
God.
time as Transformers.
No.
It got a live action movie. It was terrible.
No.
Well,
So, and for anybody who hasn't really tried the Cybertron series from High Moon Studios, definitely try it out. It's very gritty compared to the other Transformers games out there, but it's amazing.
their
I
Deadpool
love the story.
game was alright.
Was it? I never got a chance to
Yeah.
try it.
It was not a good game, but it was funny. And for Deadpool, sometimes it's more important. It was clear
Yes.
they didn't have the budget, but their heart was in certain aspects, and they put it all in one. It was I'll never want to play it again, but if I saw someone playing it, I would watch it. It's that kind of game, you know. It's your B-list title, which is kind of how I view that series as well.
Man, now all this really makes me want to pick up Alan Wake again, because that's the one game that feels like it was meant to do that, and they didn't need to turn it into like a movie or a miniseries.
My partner is a massive fan of Alan Wake. I never finished it, but she never shut up about it. So
Oh,
wow.
it's man,
I
fucking good.
I didn't like what I played of it. I was a bigger fan of Remedy's earlier game, Max Payne 1 and 2. But I see, and I kept looking at it. I'm like, those are Duracell batteries, and then I was just like, okay.
I really liked it. Now, the criticism I have is at the end. It seems like they weren't really sure how they wanted to. Damn it! And they weren't sure that was that song, wasn't it?
Yeah.
God damn it, that song. Anyway,
For all the listeners who know who that is.
so with Alan Wake, it was really good until the last stage, because in my opinion, it seems like they ran out of stuff to do.
You know,
and they're
there's
like, just make it crazy difficult.
Did
and
you
then
play
there
the
we go.
DLC?
Not enough. No.
I feel like I mean, if you like Alan Wake, it just stems to reason that the DLC would offer something. But I know you can't buy any of it now. They lost the rights to it.
No, I wasn't able to get the DLC.
It's too late now.
Didn't have that kind of cash.
Well, you've had how many years? Instead, you bought Transformers merch, and that's a mistake. You know.
I don't like you anymore.
You know what the worst movie I saw that was based off video games, just to kind of roll us back in?
Oh, God.
It was recent. Assassin's Creed.
I haven't seen that, and I'm not going to.
It had a problem I wasn't expecting.
What's that?
It was boring. Like, you thought that movie was going to be a dumpster fire, and it is, but it's a dumpster fire because it was so dry. And in some ways that sounds right, because I kind of feel
Dry?
yeah, it's a really dry movie.
Wow.
Like, I mean, that's kind of how Assassin's Creed feels to me in general, though. It's like, it doesn't have any heart. It doesn't have any core. It has ideas of functionality. It is a functional movie. We have the Animus in the movie. And it's an idea that, you know, the first Assassin's Creed was a fascinating game. Because I think at the time, there was a core. And it was, here's a guy that is kidnapped and forced to relive his ancestors' memory, and he's panicked and he doesn't know where he is, and that's an interesting story thing, and it's his relationship with the other two characters, and that was interesting. Assassin's Creed 2 was way less interesting, but Ezio was a more likable character for that part of it, so that kind of justified it. And then past that, what is the core of Assassin's Creed? What is its heart? Because I haven't found it. And the movie kind of felt like a long extension of what I view Assassin's Creed to be, which is this soulless series that based itself off of iconography that I'm supposed to look at and be like, I remember that. It's that. I don't think there's one series I could give less of a shit about than Assassin's Creed.
I really
and I
liked.
tried.
I really liked Assassin's Creed 2. Like Poe was mentioning, he liked the first two. I did too. I thought gameplay-wise and as a video game, they were both good. But I really did not like the ending to 2. I thought it was absurd.
See, I like the ending to 2. I just wish they did something with it.
I didn't like it. I thought it was absurd. And then I played a little bit of 3 and thought, wow, they've done nothing.
Oh man,
They've done nothing.
I stuck out longer than you did. I played the in-betweens.
Ugh.
And let me tell you something. Brotherhood is a great game. Better than 2. I hate it. Because it was at that point that the formula really got tired for me. I actually feel like, and this is going to get me crucified, the first game is better than 2. And the reason I say that is because there was a formula of 1 that was fascinating to me. Which is when the name is called Assassin's Creed because you go and assassinate fuckers and you do that, and that's the thing. In 1 is boring as it got because you did it over and over again. I got to learn who they were before I got to them.
Yes.
That was what made 1 special. They all kind of felt like a Far Cry villain a little bit. You really learned who they were. In 2, you just got a random mission that said you got to assassinate this fucker. And you didn't know him, and he got there, and they had their little monologue, and then it would be done. But the story pushed you along. You were interested in the main character. They used that main character in Brotherhood, and they had nothing to say with him. They used him again, and it was just like, it was pretty clear. They only wrote him for 1 game. They didn't know what to do with Ezio at that point. He's older.
Yeah.
What's he do? He's no longer a playboy. He's grown up. That was an arc. But he can't have other arcs because he's already there. So where do you take him? To Rome. That's not how arcs work. And then when we got to 3 was just fucking boring in every way. 3 makes the other 2 look like phenomenal games, and even though like, wasn't that it was bad itself, but like, who remembers Connor?
I sure don't, but that's because I bowed out before that.
Yeah, because it took like 5 or 6 hours before you got to play as the main character. But what was more heartbreaking about 3 was that it kind of killed the... People made fun of the Desmond shit, but Desmond was the core of that story. He was what Assassin's Creed was about. You know, it was the modern day, he's going back. It is this man that ran away from his family and is forced to fight on their side. It was building up to nothing. And now it doesn't even have Desmond. Now it's just, here's random Animus shit. I would not be surprised if the plot of the next Assassin's Creed is some kid goes to a shopping mall and then there's an Animus. He's like, I'll try it. And then he puts on the thing. And that's the plot. And then you see this history of another fucking playboy that's just like, I love adventure.
Like, try VR gaming, but it's actually an Animus.
You know, with the way the plot's been going, that's really not far off.
Oh my god.
Did you not play 4?
No.
4 is about a video game company owning an Animus and using it as a video game device.
Really?
It was an interesting idea, but man, by that point they lost... Yeah, the last 4 Assassin's Creed games don't have a number next to them. And gee, I wonder why. The number would be so high at this point.
Yeah, they release a new pile of shit a new Assassin's Creed game every year.
They skipped 1 year.
Oh!
So we're going to get Origins.
Oh!
And everyone keeps telling me how good this game looks, and then I looked at it, and man, I mean, it looks a little better, but I'm not going to play it. My problem with Assassin's Creed, even past the part of not having fandom for it, I hate that structure. Give me another open world game where there's a million things for me to collect and missions that aren't fun to do, and I'd rather put a bullet in my head. That's why Zelda is like getting 10s. It didn't bother with the markers. It just said, just have it. 4 should have been Pirates. Yeah. Pirates were the highlight. Pirates are the highlight of 4. But here's the thing, though. Like, that's all Assassin's Creed seemed to have.
Okay, well, for the people that are listening to the recorded version, not the live version, the reason why he said 4 should have been Pirates Out of Nowhere is that's what our chat's saying.
Yeah.
So we're responding to that.
Aren't they making the reason my brain farted, I'm now thinking about that new pirate game coming out from Ubisoft that we saw at E3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's probably their answer to that. It's just, they're just going to give us a pirate game. And, you know,
Why not?
I love pirates. One Piece is my favorite weeaboo shit. You know.
Didn't they have an Assassin's Creed pirate game?
Yeah, it was 4. That's what.
Oh,
that was what we're talking about.
Okay.
That was the topic. But now the pirate game is getting its
own. Oh, okay. Sort of just been. Oh, I see what he's saying now. Okay.
Skipping the terrible in-betweens. But without the in-between, what is Assassin's Creed? It's just a gameplay model.
Is that what it is, regardless?
My point was originally, as a movie, as an adaptation of that, it was a perfect capture of all the boredom I have with Assassin's Creed. No heart, no soul, no character. Just here's some iconography you remember from 1 and 2. It's like, Assassin's Creed is so sure that it has fanboys. I've seen so much merch. And I guess they exist. But they exist for 2 products. I've never seen, like, a faster franchise. Like something that just assumed it was that big, that quick.
I think the one thing that I hated most when it came to Assassin's Creed merch, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll be done shitting on Assassin's Creed.
I'll never be done.
But the people who stick the blades up their shirt sleeves, that had a thing going on for a while.
That was a thing?
Yeah, they'd get like a plastic one and do that. And you'd see people at like a convention, they're not even cosplaying and they're doing that. Like, oh look at me. I'm an assassin.
To be fair, if I saw someone do that, I would sleep with them the day and be like, oh man, you've earned that. You've earned the right.
You terrify me.
I'd cuddle them, and I'd be like, thank you for showing me the power of the blade. On that note,
you didn't just... Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Fedora down.
My lady. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, that's going to be all for this episode of The Reset Button. So, we'll see you again next week. And if you aren't following us, give us a follow.
That's a mistake.
That it is, but it'll be the best mistake you made all week.
That wasn't the part I meant. I meant the other way around. If you weren't following us, that's a mistake. But whatever, if that's your Freudian opinion of this,
it is.
Okay.
It is. Love you. Bye.